Well, I hope you were listening to Anne Nightingale's Rock in Russia, and right towards the end of it, a woman was saying that she was sitting in a taxi in Moscow recently and heard them play a Genesis song followed by a Van Halen song, and as though they didn't have life hard enough as it was. We've got sessions tonight from the Bhundu Boys, The Fall, The Darling Buds, Terence Trent Derby, the Electro Hippies, and the Housemartins. We're going to start with the Electro Hippies. And now the Bhundu Boys. Bhundu Boys in session, and that's called Jig a Jig. When they recorded this session, actually, the band subsequently told me they weren't feeling particularly well. They were tired, having driven back from somewhere a great distance away, and they don't regard it as being amongst their best work, but it sounds fine to me. And we started the programme with the Electro Hippies, Mega Armageddon Death, and that, of course, now available on one of the session EPs, as well as being in session tonight. The Darling Buds from Newport Gwent.
Time I
Darling Buds, I do like their stuff. I must say, I'd like to see them live one of these days. I couldn't remember is the title of that, and here's a marginally more detailed work from the Electro Hippies. You won't be too surprised to learn that plans are being made at the highest level for us to have another session from the Electro Hippies as soon as we possibly can. That track's called Sheep, and here's one from the Housemartins. Big names as well, you know.
Teacher's name was Charles, made me feel like Jack. Thought my team was late, because I sat right at the back. Thought my name was Peter, the time that I was there. I told him it was Bob, but he didn't seem to care. Drawing mustaches and glasses, won the ruling classes. Drawing whalers and soldiers, from Berlin to Damascus. It shouts out loud, I'm more than you, I'm more than you. It shouts out loud, I'm more than you, I'm more than you. Making bombs and chemistry, and catapults and craft. I thought I must be far too downfall of his class. He even told the caretaker I didn't want to pass, and he degraded seamen cutting across his glass. Would he keep all the marbles he'd taken in that year? Or would we storm through the staff room and pinch his cans of beer? It shouts out loud, I'm more than you, I'm more than you. It shouts out loud, I'm more than you, I'm more than you. There's always something there to remind me, something that I should have left behind me. It taps you on the shoulder in a queue. It shouts across the street, I'm more than you. And there is always something there to remind me of you. It shouts out loud, I'm more than you, I'm more than you. It shouts out loud, I'm more than you, I'm more than you. It shouts out loud.
Housemartins in session. There's always something here to remind me of you. And I got a Christmas card from them, but printed, which I always regard as being slightly below the belt. I mean, I got one of those years ago from Cliff Richard, of all people. Terence, Trent, Derby.
1, 2, 1, 2, easy.
Terence, Trent, Derby, the first from him, and that's under my thumb, of course, as you probably spotted. And from the Fall, and don't forget there's a new Fall LP available at the end of February. I look forward to that a great deal. Australians in Europe. The Saintly Fall and the session version, of course, of Australians in Europe. And aren't you impressed with the fact that I'm something like 24 minutes into the programme and haven't yet mentioned what I did over Christmas? Went to the pub, had a bit of a party, which I did my ancient mariner routine, and wrote lots of letters. These are the Bhundu boys, and dare to say.
Play in the rain. Julie and John jumped when they heard a loud noise.
What a session. I think one of the most unforgettable that has been broadcast in the whole time I've been doing programmes for Radio 1. The Electro Hippies, and that was Meltdown. And before that, Star of the City to Feed the Poor, rather. And before that, the Bhundu Boys and Do To Say. Tomorrow night we've got sessions for you from Catapult, Cud, the Wedding Present. I think that must be their Ukrainian one. I've rather lost track of what's happening when. But Holly Holly also, Extreme Noise Terror, and the Abs, who also come from Newport Gwent, like the Darling Buds. Those are the Darling Buds, and that's called It's Up To You. And you probably want to know what I got for Christmas. I mean, I'm sure everybody's been telling you. A pair of waders, so that next time our house is threatened with floodwaters, I can get into the stream and sort it out. And an axe, so I can chop down trees and things like that if they threaten to cause flooding. The Darling Buds, that was. And this is Terence, Trent, Derby again. Heartbreak Hotel and Manish Boy. Have you noticed that I'm having trouble tonight saying Terence, Trent, Derby?
Well, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell. It's down at the lonely street, it's called Heartbreak Hotel. Oh, I'm so lonely, so lonely I cry. Well, the tears right started flowing. That's I was a young boy at the age of 5. My mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man way past 21. You better believe it, baby. I had lots of fun. I'm a man that still live age of 18.
Oh, my soul, that's Terence, Trent, whooping and a hollering through Heartbreak Hotel and Mannish Boy. Back with the Electro Hippies. Like the tranquil portion in the middle of that, those are the Electro Hippies, and that's Escape. All of this, as I say, available on one of those Strange Fruit EPs. These are the Housemartins, and this is Sunday Isn't Sunday.
The birds are singing like they polished off another crate. Dogs are barking like they wanna live. And apart from the cow that is lying on my plate, it seems that everyone is pretty pleased. And for those who lord him more than they can ever really want, they'll often just a pitiful display. As skulls climb, bullets fly around the restaurant, there's only one thing left for us to say. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Nationalize the churches, give the riches to the poor. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Well, I asked them what they did on the 6 days of the week. The church did not require them to be present. They sat there and drank so much they couldn't even speak. They did not disturb the neighbors on the crescent. And they weren't to blame for poverty and people throwing bricks. They certainly weren't to blame for immigration. It's just they said the Pope and politics don't mix. They're just like sausage, eggs and bacon. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Nationalize the churches, give the riches to the poor. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Nationalize the churches, give the riches to the poor. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Sunday isn't Sunday anymore. Sunday isn't Sunday.
Lightning flashed. The wind howled.
Scratch the skirt of the railroad. Straight from London, packed with inner sun. Children tending one-man parents, questions of destiny. But non-existent comes on TV on a train was a tube within the crushing beauty of the countryside of London desert rock.
Couldn't you smack their little bottoms for them? That's The Fall, of course, in session, and that's Twister. And for those of you who are Festive 50 fans, we'll be rejoining the Festive 50 in about 21 minutes, I think, according to my calculations. No, 22 at number 30. And if I have time, I'll give you a rundown of what's happened so far. These are the Darling Buds, and this is Mary's Got to Go. Those are the Darling Buds, and Mary's Got to Go. Speaking of the Festive 50, which I was scant seconds ago, you'll be able to get hold of copies of it and smear them all over your fingers, actually, from the back pages of Sounds. If you're really ambitious, you can probably smear it over the whole of your body, but it'll be printed, I think, on the back page of Sounds, and also in next Sunday's Observer, along with a rather dull commentary by myself. These are the Bhundu boys, Regare.
Ndingazviitese zvinondishungurudza zvinonditambudza zvinondigumbura kusara moyo wangu wasviba sedzito muviri seutsanwa nekufumba ndingazviitese muviri seutsanwa nekufumba ndingazviiteseiko chawana rugare chawana rufaro
ndingazviite seiko ndingazviite sei ndingazviite seiko ndingazviite sei dzinondishungurudza dzinonditambudza zvinondigumbura kusara moyo wangu wasviba sedzito muviri serutsanga nekuvhunga ndingazviite sei ndingazviite seiko muviri serutsanga nekuvhunga ndingazviite seiko ndingazviite sei tawana rugare tawana rufaro tawana zvose zvinodiwa pano panyika tawana rugare tawana rufaro tawana zvose zvinodiwa pano panyika zvishongo zvendarama zvinodhura nezvinonaka uchazviwana nai vari kumhepo kumafurafura mhepo kumaini mhepo kumhepo pandiri nhasi o zvinondishungurudza zvinonditambudza zvinondigumbura kusara moyo wangu wasviba sedzito muviri serutsanga nekuvhunga ndingazviite sei ndingazviite seiko muviri serutsanga nekuvhunga ndingazviite seiko ndingazviite seiko ndingazviite sei ndingazviite seiko ndingazviite seiko
Even when they're not on mid-season form, I still love them. The Bhundu boys, and that's called Regare. And I should thank once again, for the last time for this year anyway, all of those people who sent us Christmas cards. We're having them pulped, as we usually do once the festive season's over, because they, with the addition of stabilisers and some flavouring, they make a wholesome breakfast for all the family. These are the Electro Hippies.
Julie and John looked out of the window.
Those are the Electro Hippies in session. Great stuff. It is a bit frustrating, to be perfectly honest with you, doing these Festive 50 programmes, because over the past week, I mean, I've been listening to stacks of new records, and I've got a lot of really good ones, which I'd like to play now, you know, but as it is, I shall have to wait until next month. It's good discipline for me, I suppose. That was called Thought, and here's Terence, Trent, Derby again.
Those need it so bad, got to have it so bad. Those want it so bad, give to me so I'm still on the case, and my rap is strong. Could jump on the train when I'm out of sight, and just check yourself, and this ain't the right.
That's Soul Power from Terence, Trent, Derby, the James Brown number, as you will have spotted. And from The Fall, in session, Guest Informant.
Yes, 33, Genesis, album cover. Secondly, 2 o'clock had passed. All the hotel staff had been dismissed. It was just me, Hoover, and the OAPs. Thoughts, could he turn killer? Asked, could I kill him? Pondered, or is he itinerant? And I guess it, stay calm and all this. 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 It's informant. Well, people, just scared nowadays. And who would even stoop to the domain of? I had not counted on, could not comprehend. Yes, the informant. Yes, the informant. Yes, the informant. I missed it all. My first-rate moron. Could not comprehend. Had not counted on. Yes, the informant. Yes, the informant. Yes, the informant. Yes, the informant. Had not counted on. Had not counted on. Had not counted on. Yes, the informant.
You won't be surprised to learn that I'm rather hopeful that we'll get them in for a new session fairly early in 1988. Whenever I mention it to Walters, he sort of hums and haws a bit and changes the subject, but I'm sure I'll bring him round to my way of thinking eventually. Those were The Fall, of course, and Guest Informant, and that was for Eric Bainbridge. The Electro Hippies and Chickens. Strange creatures, chickens. Those were the Electro Hippies, and that was called Chickens. And from the Darling Buds, and this is the last before we get into the Festive 50, this is The Other Night.
That
The Darling Buds in session, and that's called The Other Night. Let me remind you once again that tomorrow night we have sessions from Catapult, Cud, The Wedding Present, Holly Holly, Extreme Noise Terror, and The Abs. But now it's time to rejoin the Festive 50 at number 30. And for reasons which will become apparent as we drone on, or as I drone on anyway, this is what I've thought of ever since I finished putting the chart together as the silly night of the Festive 50. We start, though, with this at number 30.
You're just a fool, my foolish heart.
Well, they should have been in before and a lot higher than that, but that's the Bhundu Boys at last in the Festive 50 at number 30 with My Foolish Heart. And this is at number 29.
I won't share you. I won't share you with the drive and ambition, the zeal I feel. This is my time. The notes I wrote as she went, she said, has the Perrier gone straight to my head? Or is life sick and cruel instead? Yes, no, 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 no. I won't share you, no. I won't share you with the drive and dreams inside. This is my time. Life tends to come and go. That's okay as long as you know. Life tends to come and go. As long as you know, no, 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 no. I won't share you. I won't share you with the drive and the dreams inside. This is my time. I want the freedom and I want the guide. I want the freedom and the guide. Oh, life tends to come and go. As long as you know, no, 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 I won't share you. I won't share you. I'll see you somewhere. I'll see you sometime.
Number 29 in the Festive 50 from Rough Trade Rough 106, Strange Ways Here We Come, and the Smiths, of course, I Won't Share You. And look in for number 28.
Just becomes so bad.
heavily. But what matters, and really doesn't matter, we're caught in this hit and run. It all becomes so vague. But what matters, and really doesn't matter, we're caught in this hit and run. It just becomes so vague. What matters, and really doesn't matter, we're caught in this hit and run. It just becomes so vague. What matters, and really doesn't matter, we're caught in this hit and run. It's just become so vague.
Holding down that coveted number 28 spot in the Festive 50, those are the Railway Children on Factory Records, and that was Brighter. And at number 27,
This is a journey into sound. This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new value.
When all is ready, I throw this switch.
Pump up the volume, pump up the volume.
Pump that bass.
Please, would you mind saying that again?
You make me feel so good.
we interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special news bulletin from our on-the-spot passport.
Oh my gosh, the music just turns me on. He's a sweet soul.
Thinking of a master plan. Death with the record, death with the record. Thinking of a master plan. Death with the record, death with the record. Thinking of a master plan.
ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money spent. So I get deeper, but still coming up with lint. So I start my mission, leave my residence, thinking how could I get some dead presidents? I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid, so I think of all the devious things I did. I used to roll up, roll up, roll up, roll up. I used to roll up, roll up, roll. I used to roll up. This is a hole up. Ain't nothing funny. Stop smiling. You still don't nothing move but the money. But now I learn to earn 'cause I'm righteous. I feel great, so maybe I might just search for a 9 to 5. If I strive, then maybe I'll stay alive. So I walk up the street, whistling this, feeling out of place, 'cause man do I miss a pen and a paper, a stereo, a taper. Me and Eric being a nice big plate of fish, which is my favorite dish. But without no money, it's still a wish. 'Cause I don't like to dream about getting paid, so I dig into the books of the rhymes that I made. Soon as a test to see if I got pulled, hit the studio, 'cause I'm paid in full.
One, two, three, One, two, three,
By George, even London grew.
Pump up the volume, pump up the volume.
Pump that bass. Back in the club, how you kids used to laugh at that song.
Check this out. Yo, you go to your girl's house and I go to mine, 'cause my girl is definitely mad 'cause it took us too long to do this album. Yo, I hear what you're saying. So let's just pump the music up and count our money. Yo, but check this out. Yo, Eli, turn the bass down and just let the beat keep on rocking. And we out of here.
Pump up the volume, pump up the volume.
Wait a minute, you better talk to my mother.
Okay, all right.
Yo, what happened to peace? Yo, what happened to peace?
Ken.
No, it wasn't too bad, I must say. Eric B and Rakim and Paid in Full, and I know that Eric B and Rakim themselves apparently didn't entirely approve of this version of their work, the 7 Minutes of Madness, the Cold Cut remix, but the Cold Cut people gave me so much pleasure during the year, and in fact they've got a new one, which I think you're going to quite like. I'm going to play it next Monday, and so I felt they deserved some sort of representation, and that was my preferred version of it anyway. So there. This is at number 26.
When I fall in love, it will be forever.
Just kidding, but I bet I had you worried there for a moment. This is actually number 26 from our session. Your Super Soar Away number 26 in this year's Festive 50. That's The Fall, of course, taken from the session. Don't forget that LP at the end of February. I keep mentioning that. That's Athlete Cured. And this is at number 20... Hold on a second, am I right? Yes, this is at number 25.
The death of a disco dancer. Well, it happens a lot round here. And if you think peace is a common goal, that goes to show how little you know. The death of a disco dancer. Well, I'd rather not get involved. I never talk to my neighbor, I'd rather not get involved. And
Not one of their best, I thought, but you liked it obviously well enough to put it at number 25 in the Festive 50 from the LP again, Strange Ways, of the Smiths, and that's Death of a Disco Dancer. Then you've got this at number 24.
One of us isn't old enough to drive, two of us aren't old enough to vote, none of us aren't old enough to drink, and three of us don't have pubes.
Call me morbid, call me pale. I've spent 6 years on your trail. 6 long years on your trail. Call me morbid, call me pale. I've spent 6 years on your trail. 6 full years of my life on your trail. And if you have 5 seconds to spare, then I'll tell you the story of my life. 16, clumsy and shy, I went to London and I booked myself in at the YWCA. I said, I like it here, can I stay? I like it here, can I stay? Do you have a vacancy for a back scrubber? She was left behind and sighed, and she wrote to me, will he die? She said, in the days when you were hopelessly poor, I just liked you more. And if you have 5 seconds to spare, then I'll tell you the story of my life. 16, clumsy and shy, I went to London and I booked myself in at the YWCA. I said, I like it here, can I stay? I like it here, can I stay? And do you have a vacancy for a back scrubber? Call me morbid, call me pale. I've spent too long on your trail, far too long, chasing your tail. And if you have 5 seconds to spare, then I'll tell you the story of my life. 16, clumsy and shy, that's the story of my life. 16, clumsy and shy, the story of my life. That's the story of my life. That's the story of my life. That's the story of my life. The story of my life. That's 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 the story of my life.
That copy pressed a murmur off centre, for which I apologise. That's at number 24 in your Festive 50, the Smiths and Half a Person. And at 23...
Hooligan, he said that you'll never do it again, and of course he won't. Not until the next time. He was the sweet and tender hooligan, he swore that he'll never do it again, and of course he won't. Not until the next time. Poor old man, he had an accident with a 3-bar fire, but that's okay, because he wasn't very happy anyway. Poor woman, strangled in her very own bed as she read, but that's okay, 'cause she was old and she would have died anyway. Don't blame me if you can come back hooligan, because you never do it again. Not until the next time. Till you've heard every word before you decide. Would you look into those motherly eyes? I love you for you, my love, you, my love, you, my love, you, my love. Till you've heard every word before you decide. Would you look into those motherly eyes? I love you for you, my love, you, my love, love you just for you, my love. Your brain is sleeping time to heal again, because we never do it again. And in the midst of life we are in death, etc. Heal again, because we never do it again. And in the midst of life we are in death, etc.
In last year's Festive 50, you'll remember, we had 7 numbers by the Smiths, including the number 1 record at the end of it all. And here we are up to number 23. We've already had 7. That's the 7th. Sweet and Tender Hooligan at 23. Another Smiths record at 22. Well, actually, no, this is at 22.
Hope I never led you to believe that the day would never come when
At number 22 in the Festive 50, The Motorcycle Boy and Big Rock Candy Mountain. It's also worth remarking that last year The Fall had 7 tracks in there and Wedding Present had 4, and so far they've only had 1 apiece. In fact, I'll tell you what we've had tonight in case you've only just got in. Number 30, The Bhundu Boys, My Foolish Heart. 29, Smiths, I Won't Share You. At 28, The Railway Children and Brighter. At 27, Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full. At 26, The Fall, Athlete Cured. At 25, The Smiths, Death of a Disco Dancer. At 24, The Smiths again, Half a Person. At 23, The Smiths, Sweet and Tender Hooligan. At 22, Motorcycle Boy and Big Rock Candy Mountain. And this is at 21.
I dance my legs down to the knees.
An altogether better track, I think. Those are the Smiths at number 21 on this occasion in the Festive 50 with Paint a Vulgar Picture, rejoining the Festive 50 at about 10 past 11 tomorrow evening. Sorry about that. Before that, it's sessions from The Abs, Extreme Noise Terror, Holly Holly, Wedding Present Cud and Catapult. Tonight it's been the Bhundu Boys, The Fall, The Darling Buds, Terence, Trent, Derby, Electro, Hippies and the Housemartins. Coming up shortly, the Midnight News Summary. Thanks for listening. Good night.
Radio 2.
The news at midnight. This is Tim Gudgeon. Police in Arkansas have arrested a man suspected of killing 8 people. The White House has expressed anxiety over the fall in the value of the dollar. And the Calcutta test has been marred by a row over umpiring. In the United States, a man's been arrested after a shooting incident in a Midwestern town which left 2 people dead and 4 injured. Police later found 6 bodies in the man's house. From New York, Kent Barker reports.
The shooting started when the man, 47-year-old Gene Simmons, opened fire with 2 handguns at a lawyer's office in the small Arkansas town of Russellville. A 24-year-old secretary was killed, and Simmons then went to a nearby office where he killed 1 man and wounded another. 2 more people were wounded at a small supermarket and a third at another location. Simmons then barricaded himself into a room with a hostage before handing over his guns and surrendering to the local police chief. When officers searched his home, they found 6 bodies in the house. 5 of them, 3 women and 2 men, were identified as members of Simmons' immediate family. No motive has been established for the shootings. The wounded people are said to be in stable condition.
A British schoolteacher has been sentenced to death by a court in Burma after being found guilty of murdering his wife. Thomas Kirkpatrick, who's 36, was convicted of ordering his cook to smother his wife with a pillow before setting fire to his house in Rangoon. The prosecution case was based on the alleged confession of the cook, who was also sentenced to death. After a day in which the American dollar again fell sharply, the White House has issued a statement calling for a halt to the slide. It said that any further fall would be counterproductive. But, as Richard Quest reports, although the dollar rallied slightly, dealers are still nervous.
There is now an air of confusion on the foreign exchanges over exactly which way the dollar should move in the near future, a confusion not helped by contradictory statements from US government officials. As a result, the dollar slipped further and further in New York, and at one stage was trading against the pound at $1.87. Tonight, in an effort to clear the waters, the White House issued a statement, saying the US wanted to see stability for the dollar. That had the temporary effect of soothing the markets, and the dollar made up some of its lost ground. It'll be impossible for London dealers, returning to their desks after the 4-day break, to ignore the falls. It'll take a great deal of nerve for them not to sell dollars, for if they do that, the slide will undoubtedly start again.
The Soviet Union has hit back at the United States over demands for a settlement to the conflict in Afghanistan. At the weekend, President Reagan called for the withdrawal of Russian troops by the end of next year. Now, the Soviet news agency TASS has accused him of hypocrisy. It claimed that by supplying anti-government guerrillas with missiles used to shoot down civilian aircraft, Washington was trying to provoke a full-scale war in Afghanistan. It said Moscow might withdraw its troops in less than a year if Western backing to the guerrillas stopped. The Bishop of Ripon has said that practicing homosexuals will not be employed as clergymen in the diocese. In a newsletter, he says homosexuals won't be ordained in the Ripon diocese, nor sponsored for training for ordination. Ruth Peacock reports.
The Bishop of Ripon, the Right Reverend David Young, first made his views known at a meeting of his own local diocesan synod in November, but he's repeated them in the newsletter to clarify his policy. He says that in his diocese, those who are known to be involved in homosexual practice will not be sponsored for training for ordination, nor will they be ordained. Similarly, those who are already ordained and are known to be involved in homosexual practice will not be offered posts in the diocese. But men orientated towards homosexuality will not be barred from ordination. The newsletter is published 2 months after the General Synod of the Church of England rejected a motion which said that Christian leaders should be exemplary in matters of sexual behaviour as a condition of being appointed to or remaining in office.
In sport, Liverpool have maintained their 10-point lead at the top of the First Division with a 4-0 victory over Newcastle. Nottingham Forest put themselves clear into second place, beating Coventry 4-1. Only 3 weeks after the controversy over the umpiring of England's test matches in Pakistan, there's been another argument on the field, this time in India, where the West Indies captain Viv Richards disputed the decisions of an umpire in the third test in Calcutta. Play was held up for several minutes. The weather, it'll remain mild and dry in much of the southeast at first, but rain in the northwest will edge slowly southeastwards. It'll be windy, especially in the west. And that's the news at 12:05.
Radio 2, Brian Matthew.
And here